Transformers aren't just machines. They're living beings with thinking minds and feeling hearts, possessing cybernetic souls that persist after their physical bodies die. This episode, we're looking at that mysterious spark of life that exists in all Cybertronians and makes them more than just robots. These are the basics on sparks. Every Transformer has a spark, a sphere of energy held in a special chamber inside them that serves as their heart and soul, providing the mystical life force that animates their body and mind, and makes them truly alive, able to think and feel for themselves. The concept of the spark was introduced in 1996's Beast Wars cartoon, and ever since then, they've been a universally accepted part of Transformers lore, featured in every subsequent series, comics, cartoons, movies, games, and much more, as the core of Cybertronian life. In that time, they've come to typically be depicted as tiny fragments of the essence of the Transformers' god, Primus, the cosmic being who created the Cybertronian race, composed of a rarefied form of Primus's living energy, Energon. The means by which Transformers are imbued with their sparks vary, but usually involve one of several ancient life-giving Cybertronian artifacts that channel them into the world. In a natural Transformer birth, a spark is released directly into the fabric of Cybertron, and the metal of the planet then forms into a body around it, the appearance of which is determined by genetic instructions within the spark itself. It's also possible to implant a spark into a pre-built body, or even into a normal machine or other object, which will be instantly reformatted into a Transformer by the infusion of life. Check out the basics on protoforms for a more detailed look at how Transformer bodies are made. Sparks are fragile. They can't survive outside a Transformer's body for long unless contained in some kind of special storage medium. And if a bot is damaged to the point that they can no longer safely contain their spark, then it'll be extinguished and the Transformer will die. However, it is possible to extract a spark before the point of death and transfer it into a new body, ensuring the bot will live on. Direct injury to the spark itself, though, is almost always fatal. When a spark is extinguished, it departs the physical world, taking with it all the memories the Transformer amassed in life, and reunites with the primal wellspring from which it came, a sort of extra-dimensional Transformer afterlife, where it becomes part of a vast collective consciousness made up of the knowledge and experience of every spark that's ever lived. It's rare, but it is possible to bring a dead Transformer back to life if their spark can be recovered from this afterlife realm. But of course, it wasn't always this way. Before Beast Wars introduced sparks, older Transformers media took a few different approaches to the inner workings of Cybertronian life. Both the Marvel comic book and the original Transformers cartoon depicted a Transformer's brain as their most essential component, containing the programming that made up their mind. In the comic, these components were named brain modules. The only thing that could infuse these tiny clusters of microchips with a living personality was the ancient talisman, the Matrix, which contained the life-giving power of the God of Light, Primus. In the cartoon, on the other hand, the supercomputer Vector Sigma was credited with programming all Transformers with their personalities. It was said that the computer was the only thing capable of doing this, but the series would contradict this several times, when the Dinobots, the Technobots, and Trypticon were all created without its use. Two significant vital components were mentioned in the cartoon: the brain-like personality component, containing a Transformer's mind, and the laser core, a vital organ that, when extinguished, meant the Transformer's death. Primus wasn't part of the cartoon story, and the show's version of the Matrix had no life-giving powers. Instead, it was depicted as the resting place of the life forces of dead Autobot leaders, whose combined memories formed a vast repository of wisdom from across the ages. But then came Beast Wars, which, in contrast to the very mechanical ideas of brain modules and personality components, introduced sparks as metaphysical, supernatural things, akin to a human soul. Sparks prominently factored into many Beast Wars storylines, and starting in 1999, were even incorporated into the toy line, with figures sporting translucent coloured spark crystals that showcased their faction symbols, a gimmick that would be revisited in several subsequent toy lines. Now, Beast Wars didn't explain how Transformers received their sparks, but it did establish that they came from something called the Matrix. Not an object, as in the original cartoon and comic, but a place, an other-dimensional realm to which they returned when they died. This was expanded on in the 1999 sequel series Beast Machines, which further revealed that this matrix was a vast collective consciousness of which individual sparks were just tiny fragments. An all-spark, made up of the shared knowledge and experience of every spark that had ever lived, or ever would. Putting it simply, the Matrix was Transformer Heaven.
We are all but fragments of the Matrix, which releases each of us in order to struggle and grow and evolve. So when we return to it, it may grow and evolve. Thus do we serve the Matrix, not just by battling, but also by acquiring knowledge, wisdom, and experiencing love.
Now, a lot of the ideas these two shows put forth surrounding sparks were based on ideas from older media. For instance, they used the term Matrix for a realm that was both the source of life, like the comics Matrix, and the resting place of the souls of the dead, like the cartoons Matrix. They showed that this source of all life could be accessed by Vector Sigma, and the very idea of a place where all Transformer spirits were united as one was directly linked to the Autobot mantra from 1986's The Transformers the Movie.
Until that day, till all are one.
Where'd you go, anyway?
Where all are one.
Consequently, within a few years, an assortment of media, including stories from official convention BotCon and Dreamwave Productions comic books, built on these connections to introduce a series of retcons, expanding the lore of Sparks to both explain how they came into the world and fully reconcile the concept with the original comic and cartoon. Together, they established that the matrix of which all Sparks were part was, in fact, the life force of Primus himself, and that the life-giving objects from the older series, the Matrix and Vector Sigma, were actually conduits for the power of this realm, through which they could channel sparks into the world, or allow Transformers to communicate with the spirits in the afterlife. This basic idea of sparks as pieces of Primus's energy channeled into the world by ancient Cybertronian artifacts has remained the definitive interpretation of the concept ever since. While not every single series has directly credited Primus as their creator, with some preferring to leave the higher power behind the artifacts as an unspoken mystery, sparks themselves have been accepted into Transformers canon so completely that even new stories set in the original comic and cartoon universes have retroactively shown sparks to exist in those continuities, with old terms like laser core and personality component being retconned into simply being the names of larger arrays or units that house the spark itself. Perhaps the most significant addition to this mythos came in the 2007 live-action movie, which introduced a third life-giving relic, the Allspark, named after one of the terms used for the afterlife in Beast Machines. This relic has come to replace the Matrix and Vector Sigma in most modern media as the primary source of new Transformer sparks, normally depicted as residing at the bottom of a huge pit on Cybertron from which all new life emerges, known as the Well of All Sparks. But still, the Allspark isn't the only method of creating new Transformer life. Others introduced over the years have included the Emberstone of Quintus Prime, which in 2022's Transformers Earthspark proved able to create new Transformers out of the matter of the Earth. And as new additions to Transformers lore have established that the energy of Primus is an exotic version of the Transformers fuel, Energon, some stories have shown that a simple Energon infusion is enough to ignite a spark within a new robot. Which, if you think about it, provides a retroactive explanation for characters from the original cartoon like the Dinobots. As the lore surrounding sparks has grown, they've come to be considered responsible for many aspects of a Transformer's nature, the information encoded within them determining a bot's appearance, alternate mode, and special abilities. Some sparks have more unusual attributes than others. Some give their bearers the genetic potential to combine or triple change. Others are mitotic, able to divide and recombine, allowing a Transformer to split their consciousness across multiple bodies. One rare variant, green in colour instead of the usual blue, known as 0.1%ers for how uncommon they are, bestow bots with incredible physical power, while others feature unique mutations that grant Transformers individual superpowers, like Skywarp's teleportation or Soundwave's mind reading. Perhaps most famously, Starscream's spark is indestructible, a mutation that allows his spirit to survive the death of his body as a ghost. Now, as the story of Starscream's ghost helps to illustrate, sparks are often treated as if they contain a Transformer's consciousness. Many stories have shown that if a spark is extracted from their body, the Transformer's mind will go with it and can be implanted in a new body. But digging deeper, it's not really as simple as that. Even in human beliefs and philosophies, the soul and the mind aren't always necessarily considered to be the same thing. And that's true for Transformers as well. Their minds, their identities, their personalities, and all their memories are usually depicted as computer data, programmed into and governed by their mechanical brains. Throughout Transformers history, there are multiple examples of a robot's personality or memories being altered by having this mental data reprogrammed or overwritten. Or in more extreme cases, of a spark being taken from one Transformer and placed in a new body whose brain has been pre-programmed with its own unique identity, resulting in a new robot who considers themselves to be a different person from the one whose spark is giving them life. One of the most dramatic examples of spark and mind being depicted as separate things was in 2014's Age of Extinction, in which Megatron was able to resurrect after his death by transplanting his mind into a new body that didn't have a spark at all, leaving him a truly soulless monster.
You have no soul. That is why I have no fear.
But if they are separate things, then why does the mind so often seem to be held within the spark? Such mysteries of life were examined in IDW Publishing's comics, which highlighted how the spark and the brain are intimately linked, to the extent that sufficient damage to either one could cause the other to shut down, but also made clear that even the Transformers don't fully understand the relationship between them. Transformer scientists say that information is known to leak between the two, which allows a spark to share the brain's mental data. But really, that's just an attempt to scientifically explain the unexplainable. The truth is, sparks are just as unearthly and unknowable as the intangible concept of the human soul, with properties far beyond the understanding of the material world. All we can say for sure is, sparks are proof that Transformers are far, far more than walking collections of metal and circuits, but rather are, and always have been, more than meets the eye. And those are the basics on sparks, just one of the many unique little mysteries of the world of the Transformers. Drop your thoughts on Transformer life, the universe and everything in the comments. Subscribe for more, or if you want early access to every new video ad-free, please consider supporting the show on Patreon.